Good afternoon, and welcome to day 2 of the 2024 Virtual Summit, Building Inclusive Pathways Through Registered Apprenticeship, hosted by Jobs for the Future's National Innovation Hub for Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Accessibility. My name is Gary Courtney, and I'm the Project Director for the Innovation Hub for DEIA, and I'm honored to be your host as we embark on this important journey together. The National Innovation Hub for Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Accessibility provides strategies and customized support to employers, education providers, intermediaries, and government entities to drive diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility in registered apprenticeship. Our goal is to improve access and outcomes for all women, people of color, people with disabilities, workers who live in rural communities, people who identify as LGBTQ+, and individuals who have been involved with the criminal justice system. Yesterday, we had 2 great sessions highlighting promising practices from the field, and we're excited to share today's content. Today, we will explore the transformative power of registered apprenticeships in creating inclusive career pathways. Apprenticeships have long been a bridge between education and employment, providing valuable on-the-job training and skill development. However, it is essential that these opportunities are accessible to all individuals, regardless of their background, race, gender, or socioeconomic status. This year's summit's theme, Building Inclusive Pathways Through Registered Apprenticeship, underscores the importance of creating equitable pathways for individuals from diverse backgrounds. Our summit will bring together experts, practitioners, and advocates from various fields to share insights, strategies, and success stories. We have an exciting lineup of speakers and panel discussions designed to inspire, educate, and empower you. From addressing systematic barriers to highlighting innovative practices, our goal is to deliver content and formatting where every participant can benefit from these rich discussions. I encourage you to actively participate, ask questions, and connect with your fellow attendees in the chat. Your engagement is crucial in making this summit a success, as well as driving forward the vision of inclusive pathways for all. Thank you again for joining us for the 2024 Innovation Hub for DEIA Virtual Summit. Together, we can build a future where registered apprenticeships are not only a stepping stone to individual success, but also a cornerstone of a more equitable and inclusive society. Please enjoy day 2 of the summit.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us here today. My name is Heather Terenzio. I'm with JFFLabs, and I run most of our entrepreneurial programs. And I'm really pleased to be working here today with our Center for Apprenticeship and Work-Based Learning. We intersect our work quite a bit because we like to test out ideas throughout JFF. And one of the ideas that we're really passionate around is apprenticeships. And so we've brought together these amazing entrepreneurs today who are building businesses around the concept of apprenticeships. And so it's been really interesting for us to learn from them, gain insights from them, and then help that to inform the work we're doing in the Center for Apprenticeships. So I wanted to welcome you all here today and get started with our amazing entrepreneurs who we've been working together with for the past 5 months. They're all super dynamic, interesting, hardworking, and are really looking at apprenticeships and career pathways into interesting jobs in different kinds of ways. And I'm excited for all of you to hear from them here today. So why don't we start with some quick introductions. I'd love to just go around, and maybe we'll start with Tina and go around the room.
Hi, Tina. Hello, everybody. Yeah, I'm Tina Zwolinski. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Skills Gap, and our product, Skillionaire Games, provides a virtual apprenticeship career gaming experience where youth can try on jobs. They discover job descriptions, salaries, local pathways, and companies. And we focus on the in-demand careers where there's the most opportunity of well-paying jobs within multiple pathways to entry. So these would be careers in advanced manufacturing, healthcare, life science, cyber, For example, our advanced manufacturing game, we take our players through 3 environments like you would at a real apprenticeship on site. So they get exposed to these jobs where there'll be 2 million unfilled jobs and there's opportunities to go into them. So they go through research and development, which has CAD, prototyping, 3D printing. Then they go into an environment for manufacturing, welding, assembly, disassembly, cyber. And then the third environment is sustainability, reusing materials, recycling, prototyping, how we handle waste. And then in each level, like you would at a real apprenticeship, you get to go through all these mini games that industry weighed in on, that these are what we need people to be able to do when they start a job. So that's been really helpful. The players, they discover about 100 terms, job descriptions, they earn badges, and can even connect out to a real apprenticeship, a college, or a job opportunity. So just by offering these games, mobile and web-based, we can remove the barriers and help scale these virtual apprenticeships to reach more youth.
Thank you, Tina. Venki?
Hi everyone, my name is Venki Mandapati. I'm the co-founder of UpSquad. UpSquad is a workforce tech solution that is used for upskilling and reskilling, especially for youth and adults, through creating collaborative and communication tools that makes it very easy and efficient for any organization to really launch, manage, and scale their workforce programs through apprenticeship programs or like any kind of workforce programs. And what we really do at UpSquad is we build ecosystems, right? There is a lot of talk around how can private-public partnerships really work to really scale something in the workforce area. So that's what UpSquad is all about. We bring in stakeholders in different regions to work collaboratively to create these workforce programs, especially catering towards those industries that these communities have. Right? Every community here in the US or even across globally is different. Their needs are different. Their outcomes that they're trying to really drive towards are different. But there is a huge gap in where technology could really help to create and build these ecosystems that are community specific, region specific, state specific, that really could drive a lot of industry needs that these communities are trying to really serve. So UpSquad really is in a very unique space where we are working with a lot of public-private partnerships to really create these ecosystems and help make workforce as the central point of creating those ecosystems. Thank you.
Thanks, Venki. Dr. Dennis?
Yes. Hello. So I'm Dennis Johnson. I'm the Senior Vice President of Programs and Partnerships at HBCU 20 by 20 in the application. We specialize in pipelining the Black and Brown community into Fortune 500 companies. So we start at the high school level, working with high school seniors, getting them into college, with all our resources being free for them. Once they're in college, we support them with academic and career-related resources, from our mock interviewing program, which serves around 10,000 HBCU students a year and recent graduates, as well as our fellowship programs that basically guarantee our corporate partners quality talent. So we have around 600 corporate partners, and we are in every industry from biotechnology to animation. What makes us very unique is that we have a grassroots approach to a national problem in which we are on the floor visiting campuses, meeting with students, and giving them the resources they need to be successful. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Dennis. Brianna?
Hello, everyone. My name is Brianna Braswell. I'm the founder and CEO of Coachalancer, and Coachalancer is working hard to close the college to career gap through skills development, skills mapping, and skills tracking. If we just think back 3 to 4 years ago, post-pandemic, AI came and disrupted a lot of things in the industry. And as a result of that, a lot of jobs are changing and shifting. So what we're really focusing on is understanding like how can we prepare people based on their skills, regardless of the different shifts and changes that the industry may face, so that people are always adaptable to different things that are going on. I want to thank you for your time, and I look forward to this discussion.
Thanks, Brianna. Thanks, everyone. So as you can see, we have a great group of entrepreneurs all thinking about apprenticeships in different kinds of ways. And I thought we'd start with a couple questions, and then we'll open it up to questions from the audience as well. So I think what we all would love to know is, why were apprenticeships intriguing to you as an entrepreneur? Why did this particular concept kind of want to build a business around? Why don't we start with Venki?
Thank you, Heather, for that question. So why is apprenticeships are intriguing to me as an entrepreneur? Because there is a lot of talk around it, right? Like, I mean, how could we really build sustainable workforce? It is through apprenticeship programs as the base, right? We hear the same challenges across every single industry. How can we really create those workforce pipelines right from K to 12 to college, and then ultimately leading them to a sustainable, like, and even a fruitful career for decades to come? So that's what it's really intrigued me as an entrepreneur. Hey, what are some of the challenges that these industries are facing in order to really scale these existing programs? Because we have seen a lot of great success stories across industries through creating these kind of apprenticeship programs. So what are some challenges for these organizations that are already doing great work? How can we help them scale their impact by really creating technology solutions around it? So as an entrepreneur, I saw that as a huge opportunity as a technologist. Like, how can we work with private and public partnerships to really create these kind of ecosystems across the US and beyond, to really create these workforce pipelines? So that's what intrigued me.
Thank you, Venki. Dennis, did you want to jump in?
Definitely. So I'll start personally with myself and like my team. So a lot of us have participated in apprenticeships, have apprenticeship certifications. Even myself, like before I was here, I was a certified nursing assistant. I was certified for unarmed security, armed security. You all, I had certifications in as a technician. I had so many careers, and I think the cool thing about these opportunities was that it showed that I had the skill to be able to do the job that they wanted to hire me for, or the job in which they were able to fill. So though I had the degree, yes, it was like, you can read and you can write, but do you actually have the skill for this specific occupation? And that's why we wanted to go into apprenticeships, because we needed to prove to our employers that the talent, the Black and brown talent in which we work with, had the skill needed to get in. With that being said, apprenticeships have a very interesting history of pipelining the Black and brown community the other way. So our goal is not only get these students in, but to tear back that stereotype and the stigmas associated with that, so that we can get them into these high performing careers. And not only can they start off, but they can work their way up and hopefully be the CEOs of these companies.
Thank you, Dennis. Tina, love to hear
Yeah,
from you.
I'm going to echo really what they're saying, but this is also the reason why I started my company. So the number one challenge for youth is career awareness, followed very closely by access to opportunities. And just like Dennis was just saying, until you really get to try out these careers and understand what you do on the job, and you have mentors that are encouraging you, you don't really understand what you hear and then what it looks like in the real workplace. Like, I remember in college doing an internship, and then when you got on the site at the company, you were exposed to like so many different jobs that you could do in different areas, and it formed your passion. And then sometimes, like for my company, we have interns, and then you see where they realize that, oh, this isn't what I want to do at all. And so it's a really wonderful time to be able to have that career discovery, to figure out where your passions are, where your strengths and skill sets are, and then start to think about, okay, I want to focus in more on that area. But just one area that really intrigued me and why we started this company is that I was hearing a lot of talk around the youth apprenticeship as to how hard it was for companies to be able to execute it on site for youth based on age. And then the challenges with mobility. And this goes back to access. Like, how can we get the youth there? Is that a level playing field for all to have access to that? And so for us, we really just began to question, can we take this virtually so that we can reach thousands across a region versus just a few tens, and to 100 quantity across the state? And that's where we really became that focus of building environments to create that discovery and remove the barriers for mobility for us.
Thank you, Tina. Brianna, did you want to answer?
Yeah, sure. I will echo, what much of my cohort has also stated. But I think one big thing for us is apprenticeships. I'm a former educator, so I look at apprenticeship as project-based learning, and the best way to build a skill, to get your feet wet, to figure out if this is something for me, is just to jump in there and do it. If we think about it compared to an internship, who I didn't previously do apprenticeships in college, but I did tons of internships, and I feel like those had less structure. And I know that a lot of that has to do with employers and how they set things up. I feel like apprenticeships create this um, this opportunity to really work on a job in that position versus here's a bunch of tasks, and it doesn't really allow you to build that skill and develop it. So that really has me excited about apprenticeships. And then as an entrepreneur in particular, similar to Venki, there's a lot of funding, especially state workforce development, historically going into apprenticeships. However, if a lot of companies don't know how to obtain that funding. And so if we think about also the Black and Brown community and students from HBCUs, a lot of them, they need work that has funds attached to it because of what they're coming into school with. So I think apprenticeships are just a win-win all the way around for every stakeholder involved and the person receiving the support.
Thank you, Brianna, and thanks everyone for that insight into the founding of your companies and using apprenticeships as the basis for that. So here at the Center for Apprenticeship and Work-Based Learning and in JFF as a whole, DEI is something we think about a lot, we work on quite a bit, and I'm just curious how you incorporate DEI into your apprenticeships and how do you make that a part of your business model? Let's see, let's start with Tina.
Sure. So for us, we do offer opportunity to get into our games for free to all. However, as a company, it's really our mission that we focus on areas that are regions where there's underrepresented youth and also into underserved communities to give them the opportunities to have discovery about these career opportunities. And for us, when we're marketing, we partner closely with after-school partnerships that are working with youth, like Urban League and Girl Scouts, organizations like that, to be able to look at how we can diversify that workforce. And then within our virtual environments, when you come in and you're choosing your avatar, who you're going to be in these environments, you're choosing whatever gender or race you want to be when you come into the environment, so that you get to see yourself and understand that I can do this and I can be in this career. And then also throughout our gameplay at the end of levels, we'll put up workers from the region that are diverse, so that these players can also see others like them working at local companies or that are in a pathway in that region, to understand that I can do this here and there are others like me in this space. And then lastly, just to on our board for our company, one of our advisors, it just nationally works with how to get diverse talent into STEM fields. So she oversees our development, our narrative, our marketing, making sure there aren't any biases, and how we communicate out, and then actually even to the point of that talent can be recruited without bias. There isn't a name attached. And so really looking at, again, how to level that playing field.
Thank you, Tina. Brianna, do you want to go next?
Sure. For us, I think two main ways. There's a lot of ways that we intertwine DEI into what we are offering the community and the market. But two main things that we do. Number one is I went to a HBCU, so that's where my heart and passions are. So our 5-year strategic focus is mainly on HBCUs, and then we plan to expand out to all minority serving institutions, with tribal colleges being next on our list. And that's very important to us for a bunch of reasons. One, just the lack of resources and the varying of variety of resources that often look different from minority serving institutions versus predominantly white institutions. Because I got to experience both of them, and I know what each world looks like. So that's very important. The second thing is, for us, DEI is more than um, putting colors on a palette. It's about empowering that individual with their skill set and putting that at the forefront. So we get rid of interviewing, we get rid of resumes. We have our talent show first. So they have to show and prove before we even introduce them to anyone, so that someone can judge them based on their work and their ability versus who they are coming into a room.
Awesome. Thank you, Brianna. Dennis, would you like to go next?
Yes, definitely. Similar to Brianna. So our roots at HBCU 20 by 20, the application is within HBCU. For the past 6 years, that's all we've done. Last year, we expanded into the application with the goal of serving all minority serving institutions. So come fall 2024, we'll be visiting 30 minority serving institutions. So we'll be all over, from California to Idaho to Florida, you name it, which is going to be really, really unique to us, because these are some places in which we've never been. Honestly, some of them we never thought of, and it's us building the connections. But this is where the DEI comes into play, because we need to make sure that everybody's at the table and everybody is included. It's also us showing DEI is in when we partner, we ask our employer partners to send people of color, because we work primarily with students and recent graduates of color, to help mentor these students, but to also help show them the path. We also ask our employers to put the payroll out there. We want to know how much everybody is getting and how much the specific apprenticeship pays, because we want to make sure that the young women who we send to this field get paid the same as the young man. So these are things in which we're thinking about from a policy perspective, as well as from a recruitment perspective as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Dennis. Venki?
Sure, Heather. So I think the way I look at DEI as as a startup, it's very critical for us to learn about everything that's happening around us, right? I look at as, hey, we could actually offer a unique value as a DEI company, right? Like hiring people, right? Like in our own startups, that it starts from there, right? And then actually showing that whatever we are talking, we are actually adhering to whatever we are saying. So recruiting people within our teams to really work on these problems, right? Because the communities that we are really trying to serve with our startups or building technology is the same kind of people that could actually bring their ideas together, that they have seen the problems for themselves, right? I think that's one way that we are really looking at from our own workforce and hiring standpoint. And also one of the major things that I want to share with this audience is, as we all know, I think every one of us just mentioned this, it's very difficult for us. We all have great networks, right? Like you and I have great networks. For me personally, that's how I was able to get my first internship, first job. But I think the people that we are trying to serve might not have the necessary networks that we might have, right? Like how could we really create that circle of influence so they can actually see the people, so that they can actually vision themselves, hey, I could do it too, right? That's what exactly Tina, Dr. Dennis, and Brianna mentioned. Like, how could we create that circle of influence through the apprenticeship programs? So those are some areas. And then we are really looking, I'm located in Memphis, Tennessee, right? Like that's predominantly a very diverse community. So, and more importantly, we are going to rural areas that has those diverse talents that are still not tapped, right? Like looking at geographical areas that are really underserved, that has the talent that we all know could really take advantage of, especially in this space. So those are some areas working with the partners who are already doing great work and really collaborating with them, both public and private, to really help them even scale more of the impact that they are trying to do. So.
Thank you, Venki. Love the mission, love the focus on DEI from all of you. So that kind of brings me to my next question. It's, what do you need from the greater business community to make your company and apprenticeships better integrated into our everyday lives? And maybe we'll start with Dennis this time.
Oh, that's a great question, because this apprenticeship program we're doing on a national level. With that being said, we're not in a local area to sponsor or to conduct a traditional apprenticeship. With that being said, it would be great if a lot of apprenticeships can be hybrid or virtual. This is key considering the population in which we work with may have a part-time or full-time job while being a part-time or full-time student. So having a virtual apprenticeship would be key. Second, will be willing to recruit outside of their traditional boundaries. So, for example, if you are in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, we want you to be open to recruiting from Georgia or recruiting from Florida, because we know that there are students who reside there, live there, but may go to universities that are somewhere else. And honestly, also be open to people just relocating to that specific area for that opportunity. In other words, think like those big companies, and this is something that can happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis. Brianna, did you want to answer that as well?
Sure. I'll answer it quickly. So what we really need to do to help improve our apprenticeships and offerings are connections really to the entrepreneur support organizations. Our main focus is connecting students to small business owners, startups, to really drive and move that ecosystem forward, because they also need the support and the talent. So we want to help answer what is your bottleneck, and we want to close that bottleneck to drive growth and revenue for those companies and those organizations. So I would love to connect with people in that space of the ecosystem so that we can empower them with the talent.
Awesome. Thank you, Brianna. Let's actually go to the next question, because I'd love to hear some success stories about promising practices about DEI and apprenticeships and how they've worked for your business. And maybe Tina, why don't we jump in with you?
Yeah. So for the work that actually we're all doing with reaching diverse early talent, for me as a founder, it was really important on our team that we prioritize the diversity on our own team. So gender, race, and lived experience, so that when it came to our development and how we think about these virtual apprenticeships, that we would have all the voices and experiences at the table, which has been reflected in our narrative, and just the time when the team is concepting together, and to see how we push each other and challenge each other, and how the product is better, and how we're always thinking about that outcome for the players, that it can be unbiased, and that we're moving them through. And then the regions we chose to do our beta testing as Boston, around Dorchester, in regions where it's very diverse, and great opportunities to be able to push youth into these opportunities. We went with South Carolina and Oregon, which to the others, there's a lot of rural regions, so we can test those opportunities there and how the youth engage. And then Inland Empire, which California, which San Bernardino, Riverside, which is the largest county in the US, and being able to test in those regions and how the youth play, how do they grow and engage. And so success has looked like 80% recall within just 3 levels of play for these youth. So they get in and they're able to recall job descriptions, local companies, and local pathways, which is a huge win, because now they know what's around them and can connect to them. And just success moving forward is scaling that and reaching more.
Thank you, Tina. We'll do Dennis and then Venki. We'd love to hear success stories from you guys as well.
Definitely. I'll say our first one is, one of the things we host summits in which we have our corporate partner put on a series of workshops, bring a series of speakers to speak to the students who have applied and gotten accepted to attend the summit. And one of them we did with a huge marketing and media company called Media Brands, headquartered in New York. One of the students who participated at the summit had a great time, learned a lot from this. Actually, got in pipeline into the actual apprenticeship program through that. So that was our first student. And again, this was in the media entertainment industry. This is a company that basically, if you ever watch the Super Bowl commercials, they are the ones that make this type of stuff happen. And the student had the opportunity of a lifetime, which was great. So that's one. And I'll say our second one is through our fellowship programs. And these programs act as the early entry programs, in which with the specific fellowship with Amgen, which is a biotechnology company who recently opened up a factory in Ohio. So students who are attending our fellowship now are able to be pipelined into not only their full-time opportunities, but also their apprenticeship opportunities in that area in which they're looking to hire for. So it's just, again, a great example of how we're making things happen in different places across the country, but also in different industries.
Yeah, there are a couple of success stories that I have been thinking about, especially in this space. Is like one, as Tina has already mentioned, I personally started just hiring virtual interns for apprenticeship programs on our team to kind of really assess, because that's the audience that I'm trying to serve, or my team is trying to serve. Like, hey, let me actually get an experience myself what an apprenticeship program would look like if I were to run it on my own team. So that's a practice that I just started a few months back, and hired a couple of high school students for the first time, because I haven't really thought about, hey, what would an apprenticeship program in a high school would look like on my team. So that has been really a great experience for our team, because just sharing our ideas and really getting inputs from these users, because otherwise we would not know a lot of things that we want to include in our product, or the way that we approach our customers from that angle. I think that really helped us. And the number two is there are a couple of customers, right? We are definitely going after these underserved communities. So there are a couple of programs that really came to my mind immediately when you asked that question. So we created an apprenticeship program specifically focused on data science, right? In the state of Arkansas. So they are running this program to really help underserved students across the state who are interested in learning about this program. So there is a great success story there. So they have been running this program successfully for the last 3+ years now, and they have been training hundreds of students every single year. And we hear a lot of great stories that employers in the state are actually looking forward to hiring these people once they finish that training and once they graduate from their programs. So, and then there is another community called City of Evanston in the state of Illinois, created a whole ecosystem for job seekers who are underserved, really creating an ecosystem for them, especially in that community, where they're collaborating with employers to be able to really understand what kind of openings, what kind of opportunities that they have, so that they could actually create those pipelines. So those are some great success stories that we had so far, Heather. And this is just the beginning. I think we are learning a lot as startups. I think that's the most impactful stories that I could think of right now.
Thank you. Thanks to everyone. That was inspiring, and love hearing about your successes. And I'm sure a lot of people who are out there listening today are thinking that it's really hard to set up an apprenticeship, and maybe it's too much work, whatever size company I'm at. And I know Dennis and Venki, I know that you have some stories about challenges you faced when setting up your apprenticeships. I'd love to hear a little bit about that, and maybe how you got through those challenges.
Well, definitely, I'll start off if you don't mind. Our first challenge was just really that national scale issue, getting companies to think on a national level when it comes to recruitment, when it comes to offering virtual opportunities. Different time zones. That was an issue. Another one is getting partners to trust a third party. We're not local. We don't have the ties to the community or ties to that company in which the local employment agency may have. And also, we are a bit, non-traditional when it comes to our recruitment efforts. We are the type that will basically throw a concert on campus to get talent in and to be able to pipeline them into the opportunities in which they have. And I think, traditionally apprenticeships have always looked different. And another one thing is just really getting companies to think dual enrollment. That's our whole goal right now, come fall 24, is that we want students who are current college students to be enrolled in an apprenticeship at the same time. And traditionally, employers usually look for those who are unemployed or those who may have some type of skill or trade or just basically not in college to get, be a part of this apprenticeship. And we're like, hey, you all, it's quality talent here. And you can see it, within a college class. The first day of class is 30 to 35 students in that one class. And the last day it's 11, and all those other students, including the ones who are still there, could have been in an apprenticeship. So these are things in which, we're really challenging us, but also it's causing us to think outside the box when it comes to just building out our apprenticeship programs.
And to add to what Dr. Dennis has mentioned, I think in my own case, I think when we started more than 5+ years ago, as just like any other startup, we had very similar challenges, right? Like how can we trust, whatever we are building could actually work? But I'm so grateful for a lot of our early adopters, right? Like they saw it as an opportunity to really help us, right? Sometimes it's going to be very challenging to just go and just pitch your idea and this is how it works. But I think there are a lot of early adopters who helped us in that first initial attempts that to kind of build these apprenticeship programs. But I think once we were able to get that first 2-3 customers, and actually our results show for itself, right? A lot of challenges as early startups that we have really come across, the bottlenecks, we were able to really leverage our data to actually show, hey, here are the outcomes and here are the programs that we were able to successfully run on our platforms, on our technology, to be able to scale whatever the impact that you're trying to achieve. So, the initial, of course, the whole, what we call the death valley of a startup, right? Like, I think we'll have to go through no matter what to really experience that. But once we were able to get that initial support, so basically just even employers who are looking at any initial solutions, I think we'll have to just fail and learn, because no matter what we do, it's not going to work for the first time that we have been trying. So as entrepreneurs, we all know those stories, how we failed so many times to get to where we are today, and we are still learning, right? We haven't solved everything under the sun to do with apprenticeship programs, and we are learning the DES space and how to tackle these challenges every single day. So those are some challenges that I could share today, Heather.
Thank you, Venki, and Dennis. Thank you for sharing those. That was all the questions I have for today, but I am getting some questions for the audience. So, Brianna, I thought maybe we'd start with you. First question is, how do you identify the skill and create an opportunity to build upon that skill? And how can you ensure success with your apprentices through your organization, and then both pre and post apprenticeship?
Yeah, great question. For one, another part of my life post education, I was a therapist. So knowing that, seeing a person from point A to point B in terms of where they start as a youth and an older youth and then an adult, right? Everyone has natural skills, talents, and abilities. So first, we want to identify what those natural skills, talents, and abilities are in an individual, as well as their values. And then what our technology does is we triangulate crossover skills based on industry roles. And then we can make connections like that. So we use that to open up pathways for students and then give them autonomy to choose and freely explore. And then they choose a pathway that they want to work on, and we provide them upskilling opportunities to further build that muscle of that natural skill that they already have, so that they can develop it. And then at that point, the apprenticeships then come in. So it's a couple moving pieces, but we think it's important that they also get the tangible knowledge behind the skill, and they put that into practice through these apprenticeships that we're creating and projects that we're creating, and they get continuous opportunities to do that through do 90-day cycles. And then the second part was, how do we ensure success? So we build in feedback loops within the companies and the students to the companies, so that they can continue to grow within these strategic projects and apprenticeships that they are involved in.
Thanks, Brianna. Tina, with the next question coming in is for you. How are you specifically using technology to accelerate awareness and access, more importantly, to apprenticeships?
With the use of mobile phones, you're able to reach youth wherever they are. So it can reach them. One, they're on their phone 7 hours a day, and gaming's their number one form of entertainment, even over streaming music, videos, sports. And so you really think about, okay, and they're in a rural area, or they may not have a desktop or a laptop, but they have mobile. So for us, that was like, let's go there first to remove that barrier, so that they can get in and explore what a job could be like from wherever they are. And then it was really important for us to be able to connect them locally with geolocation built into our play, so that now they know that, okay, what I just did here in healthcare, I know that this hospital right up the street has opportunities for me. And then this community college has a program that I can go into that's 5 miles from me. So you can scale bigger, but then for us, our technology let us do that. But then also thinking about the importance of getting it down to that local connection to keep talent. I love the idea of keeping talent where they are. If they want to go explore and move to other areas, that's great. But letting them know that there's opportunities for breaking cycles and just life-changing careers right around them. And then it opens up opportunities for these industries that have these jobs or actual on-site apprenticeships to think about. Now, if we have a bigger talent pool that we've engaged through all of our different resources that we're putting together as this team, that now we can expand our company and do more production because there's more talent, or as a region, we could attract new industry and provide more opportunities regionally for youth. So that's how we use the technology, is really thinking about how to be able to scale it with that mobile, but still provide desktop for programs to go a little deeper.
Thanks for that, Tina. Next one is for Dennis. So Dennis, you mentioned a couple of times pipelining students into apprenticeships, and our person here is asking if you could dive into that a little bit. So how do you pipeline students into apprenticeships?
Definitely. The first thing we do is we work with employers to get the opportunities they have, the apprenticeships in which they have. So in other words, speaking with them to see if they would be basically need what we call is like our employer partner handbook. As in, would you be willing to post a job? Would you be willing to mentor, conduct a couple of virtual workshops and things like that? Once that employer has said yes, we're like, okay, let's put them in our database. Let's bring the opportunities they have on the road with us. While we're on the road, that's that grassroots approach in which I talked about, in which we literally may be door knocking on some of the dorm doors, working with professors to take over the class and host workshops, putting on activations to bring students in. As we get the students into our database, we're able to share the opportunities, specifically the apprenticeship opportunities we have, as well as put them into our apprenticeship programs, which is basically a series of workshops in which the students get a mock interview conducted by that specific apprenticeship employer. And we encourage them to give them all the data they need around that specific occupation with the hopes that they will apply. So with that, along with some additional other stuff, that's like our secret sauce when it comes to really getting students to not only apply, but take interest in this specific occupation.
Thank you. Appreciate that. And actually, I have a final question here for Venki. Can you tell us about some existing companies and how they are leveraging UpSquad?
Sure, Heather. So one organization that we have been working and partnering with for almost 3+ years now is the Arkansas Economic Development Commission. So one of the challenges that they came up to us and potentially we helping them via UpSquad is they want to create a a data science apprenticeship program across the state where students who are interested in learning about data science, whether they have a degree in data science, just giving them an exposure to what data science and careers and mentorship in data science would look like. So one of the biggest challenge for them is they have been running these kind of programs prior to leveraging UpSquad, but they have been leveraging 10 different tools to really optimize what kind of programs that they're trying to run. So basically, we help them to create an ecosystem that makes it very easy and efficient for them to streamline how they could manage and scale their apprenticeship program. So we have more than 500 plus students all across the state who have gone through this apprenticeship program, and still this year we are just gearing up to have a couple more 100 people from the state to go through their program. So that has been a great partnership with us for us at UpSquad. And then the second interesting thing that we have been noticing, especially in the last couple of years, is especially in the healthcare space. In the healthcare space, we all know how much there is a need here in the US in the healthcare space, right? Whether it's the universities, whether it's healthcare talent pipeline, especially in the DEI space. So UAMS, University of Arkansas Medical Sciences, has been one of our early adopters, especially to cater to DEI needs. They have been helping students in those specific regions to be able to really help them get the mentorship that they would need in order to be just see themselves what a career in healthcare would look like, because we all know how challenging it is to be even getting into healthcare industry, right? So as a nurse or as a doctor, so if we don't have the right representation at that bottom layer, it's going to be even more challenging for decades to come. So that's one of the challenges that they have been really solving, leveraging UpSquad, creating these programs. And we have been partnering with Morehouse School of Medicine, National Medical Fellowship. They have an apprenticeship program as well. And a lot of these customers in the healthcare space are creating, we have just partnered with the American Society for Reproductive Medicine. They have just started a program last year. And in fact, one of the biggest success stories for us is once they start with one program within their organization, they immediately see that how this could be applied for other programs that they have been running. So that's how we have been getting more and more opportunities with our existing clientele, just exposing to more programs and how they could leverage our tools.
Thank you, Venki. And I really want to thank you all. This is so inspiring, so interesting. I love the different sizes, flavors, and different forms of apprenticeships that you all created with your companies. So interesting, and it just shows the power of apprenticeships and how it can be used in so many different ways, from the trades to tech careers and all different kinds of formats, working with small businesses as well as governments. And you all have really tapped into something very special here, and I'm excited to watch you and your growth and to see where all of your companies take you. And I'm also honored that you have worked with JFF throughout this process, and we've gotten to watch you grow and think this through and overcome challenges. And so I'm really inspired by all of you and grateful that we've been a part, just a small, tiny part of your journey with you. I would also like to remind everyone that here at the Center for Apprenticeship and Work-Based Learning, we do provide free technical assistance programs. So if you are thinking about starting an apprenticeship program and you'd like some help, please feel free to reach out to us at any time. That's what we're here for. That's part of what the center was created for. So thank you all again for your time and interest. And if there's any questions for any of the entrepreneurs here, please feel free to reach out. You can reach out to them all on LinkedIn or reach out to them directly. I'm sure they'd love to hear from you. Thank you again, and have a great rest of your day. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining today's session on the voice of the apprentice on shaping inclusive programs. Today, we're going to be talking about how we can incorporate feedback from apprentices to drive program improvements and inclusion. My name is Eric Mendoza. I am the Business Manager in Intelligent Partnerships, and I will be today's moderator. So let's go on and meet our panelists for today's session. If you can talk about just a little bit about yourself and your program, that would be great. If you'd like to start us off, Jennifer, please.
Thanks, Eric. Hi, my name is Jennifer Walker. I am the Human Resource and Organizational Development Director with ProSearch. We are an e-discovery vendor service company. We work with Fortune 500 companies, and we have had such success with our interns. We are currently in the process of building out our apprenticeship program.
Thank you for that. Aaron, would you like to go next?
Sure. My name is Aaron Greenberg. I'm the Deputy Director of the Hospitality Training Academy. We are a partnership between Unite Here Local 11, the hospitality workers union in Southern California and Arizona, and over 200 hospitality employers in Southern California and Arizona. And we run a number of apprenticeship programs and other programs, and we'll be talking about those today.
Thank you for that. And Rogelio.
Thank you, Eric. Hi, my name's Chef Rogelio. I'm one of the chef instructors and was a previous student for Hospitality Training Academy.
Thank you so much for everybody in those wonderful introductions. So let's jump ahead into our first question of the day. So how has apprentice feedback influenced the development and the successes of your program? Aaron, would you like to start off?
Sure. So in our line cook apprenticeship program, which we'll be talking a lot about today, we have cycles of feedback that we get from apprentices. We have surveys, even before the apprenticeship cohorts begin. We have a really small student-teacher ratio in the courses, so no more than 2 instructors for about 20 apprentices over the course of 8 weeks that they're spending together. So they get to know each other really well. I know Rogelio can speak to some of the mentorship relationships that develop. But really, at the end of the day, what makes our program so successful is both the engagement and feedback that we're getting constantly and cyclically from students, but also the feedback that we're getting from employers, from our employer partners. As the training arm of Unite Here Local 11 and a partnership with contributing and participating employers, our whole syllabus, our curriculum, everything that we're teaching is based on what the industry needs. And our employers are some of the largest, most significant hospitality employers in Southern California and therefore in the world. And so the curriculum that we're able to develop with them really meets the needs of those employers, so that when we have folks coming into the apprenticeship program, we can guarantee that if they graduate our very rigorous program, they're going to have a job at the other end of one of those employers, because we're really training people with all of the skills that they need to succeed as a line cook. We're turning, 2 years of culinary school into 8 weeks, into a really intensive course. And that's based on what the industry needs, based on what our employers need, and also really taking into account the learning styles of our apprentices in the program.
Oh, that sounds really wonderful. Thank you so much for that. Rogelio, would you like to add on more about the program?
Yeah, sure. As an instructor, their feedback helps us too, as when we instruct, and as a teacher. Sometimes we end up finding out from their feedback when we have to adjust certain recipes. Sometimes we have to, we find ways of helping them out how to teach math. Sometimes we already have an amazing way of teaching math, and it's super easy to teach. It's super easy, but sometimes we have to, we have some students that face certain challenges sometimes, and we have to find a different way to help them learn the math so that they can finish successfully and get them into jobs. So sometimes we also even offer tutoring. Sometimes we let them know also too, when they tell us, hey, is there any way we can collect, we could use a kitchen, a chef knife, we could take it home so we could practice at home and stuff like that. So their feedback usually always, that's how we learn how to give them tutoring and stuff like that.
Thank you. And Jennifer, you are in a completely different space and you're starting a program. So how does that apply to how you're currently developing your programming?
Yeah, we are in a completely different space. For us, we are very communicative with our employees. So we do a lot of monthly check-ins, obviously have a review cycle. We really wanted to incorporate this. We had success with interns, and really the reason why we wanted to build out this apprenticeship program was that success. We were able to convert full-time employees as we grew them along with our business, and we saw the benefit behind it. So we leaned on our managers, we leaned on those interns who had kind of gone through this ad hoc program with us, and really asked them for their feedback, especially those interns. As we developed the apprenticeship program, what do we need? What kind of training material was successful? Where were we lacking? What would be beneficial? And we sat down several times and asked them for their feedback. Also sat down with the managers and asked them, what they were looking for in apprentice and what they needed to kind of drive the business forward. So we've really done a lot of kind of one-on-one communication with them to really develop this program.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
So as we begin to see how the feedback influenced program success, how do you all kind of collect that feedback from your apprentices and give advice to any other organizations that want to follow the similar footsteps you're taking? Jennifer, would you like to start off with this question?
Sure. Again, kind of what I reiterated before, we do an actual one-on-one check-in that is through a program called Reflective. So we're able to kind of fire off specific questions. But I like to build upon that. I find the connection on actually having a conversation is really important. Folks will give you more information and kind of expand upon it versus having to write it into some chat box. So both are beneficial. We'll solicit that information and then do follow-up conversations from there.
Thank you so much for that. Aaron, would you like to add to that?
Sure. So, our apprenticeship programs, really, we see them at the end of the day as anti-poverty programs, as ways to get folks who want a second shot or a third shot at starting their career into really a life-changing job with a career pathway in one of the biggest industries in our region. So we're always working with students who are, coming from marginalized communities, who are facing a lot of barriers to employment. So from the start, like from an info session that we might host to a job fair to meetings with case managers, we're a really high touch engagement with the apprentices. So we're getting feedback, we're learning about our students, we're learning about our participants the whole way through. Once the course actually starts, we're having daily cycles of evaluation, both formally, so more anonymous kind of surveys that we can collect at the end of the day, but also, as Rogelio was saying, the relationships that the chef instructors have with our apprentices, and then the case managers have, who are working with them to get them supportive services, to get them bus passes, to get them shoes, to get them everything they need to be successful. We're really doing wraparound support for them throughout. And so getting a lot of feedback on what their needs are and on what they need in order to, again, to be successful in the program, to graduate and to get employed. And we do everything, again, from the supportive services to resume writing, so that by the end of the program, someone is in a job, ready to start. Our program, ends on Friday. They're at work on Wednesday. That's the goal. And that's only really possible because we get to know our students so well, and they get to know us so well.
Thank you for that. I would love to hear your point of view, Rogelio, being an apprentice in the program, and how that feedback and that connection you had back to the organization to now being an instructor there.
Yeah, so it's Aaron kind of hit it right on the nail. But usually it starts from the very beginning, from the info session. We collect feedback from the start. Sometimes when all these students come in, we observe them from the moment they come in, and we give an informative info session. But usually after that, they'll take prereqs, and then after that, they'll take an interview. Right after that interview, they take their first survey. So that first survey will tell them, oh, how did your info session and your prereq go? And then after that, they would go through a second process of having like a mid chat. So with us as an instructor, we sit down with them in between the class when they're going through the 8-week program, and we talk to them. Sometimes we have to let them, we tell them like, hey, maybe we can work on this, or even sometimes we tell them, hey, you're doing a great job, keep going, but we just make sure that we're communicating to them one-on-one. That's the biggest key, and making sure that that at the end they're succeeding and they're graduating, and making sure that they're getting a job, ready for any hotel or ready for any job that they go to. And at the end of everything, they take their final, they'll take an exit survey, and that's how we collect. That's the most important one, and that's when they let us know, how was your instructor? We tell them, was it very informative? Did it help you out? Were you happy with the program in the end?
Thank you for that. And in kind of wanting to expand more on your amazing story from apprentice to instructor in the program, kind of how do you perceive the impact of your input as an apprentice during your time in the program has overall affected it to even now as an instructor?
Well, maybe I could start from the beginning of how I heard about HTA. Well, HTA was told, I heard about HTA from a family member, and in the beginning I was really trying to, I was looking for a career change, and at the time I couldn't believe it that they were offering an 8-week program, and it was absolutely free. At the end they said you would get a union backed job with benefits, good pay. The whole thing was pretty amazing. And eventually I just ended up committing to it, and I ended up quitting my job, and I went 100% into the program. And I told myself I'm gonna give it my all. I'm gonna show the instructors that, you know, I was very serious. And I believe, you know, going through all the process that this I went through the same process as the students, and pretty much from going through the info sessions, doing the math test, doing the interviews, you know, I helped them out, telling them like every interview you go to, you must dress up professionally. You should always do it. Show them that you want the job. You know, and so some students, all that stuff is new to them. So I try to give them that feedback back. So like I have the point of view as a student and as an instructor now. So anytime, even when I help them out with that, it makes it a little bit easier for me to empathize with them when it comes to their challenges, and I'm able to really connect with them and tell them, hey, you know, this is easy. Let me show you this way. Or sometimes if it's just one-on-one tutoring, it's just I can connect with them.
Thank you. That's a powerful story to hear.
Thank you. Yeah.
Aaron, I don't know if you would like to add to that about how similarly other apprentices like Rogelio have made an impact in your programming model.
Yeah, I mean, we have a strong and, you know, consistent curriculum that's based on what the employers really need, so we can get folks into these great life-changing union jobs. But along the way, there are plenty of things, from like recipes that students have come up with that now become the kind of like mainstays of what we teach, to just the styles of teaching that our instructors are doing to be successful with students who might learn really differently. Like it's always iterative. It's always you know, a process of kind of cyclical engagement and both the formal and informal surveying that's going on all the time.
Thank you. I know, Jennifer, and your organization is still developing your program, but in a similar sense, how have the input from your interns kind of affected how you're developing your apprenticeship model right now?
You know, I think it's just really allowed us to see the benefit and why we do it. One story in particular that really stands out is we had an individual that was in an entry-level position for us and wanted to go in a different direction into our IT department. And you could tell they were, you know, at that kind of, hey, I've hit the ceiling of the entry-level position. I want to do something different. And we decided this is a great employee. We wanted to invest the time in him and gave him the opportunity to spend some time with our IT department. He has since taken a position in IT, which has just really kind of snowballed. It has changed just his demeanor. He's very excited to come to work. He actually has enrolled himself in other courses outside of what we're providing him, and kind of taken those reins and decided to go back to school. So it's just really sparked such a beautiful story, and just this power in him to invest in himself. So you know, I think stories like that speak volumes as to why these apprenticeship programs are so valued and needed in any industry.
Thank you so much for that. I really appreciate that story. So as we gather these feedback, do you have advice specifically for apprentices on the way how to communicate those feedbacks and needs to their program manager or anybody within their programming or instructors? Rogelio, would you like to start us off this time?
Well, for me and for the students, when I was a student, I usually just advise them, don't be afraid, ask questions. I knew how it was to be nervous in Korea. You know, just doing a whole new thing, something different, was very scary for me. And I thought I was getting into something. Like I said, I didn't believe that there was programs out there like this. And I asked all the questions I needed to ask. And in the end, you know, just give it your all and just go 100%. Don't look back. And if, you know, the hard work will pay off, just keep going. And eventually you'll be surprised with what, you know, these programs have to offer. So it's done a very good thing in my experience, and I went through it.
Thank you for that. Aaron, do you have any advice for apprentices?
Yeah, I mean, for us, everything we do is to try to prepare people for a professional, high level kitchen at a major hotel or hospitality employer. So our kitchens, when we're training, they look and they feel like a professional kitchen, and working in a professional kitchen, as Rogelio can describe, is about being and receiving like clear communication all the time, being very communicative. If you've seen The Bear, like everyone's always talking to each other, everyone's always in communication. And so I think it's very important, like Rogelio was saying, that students learn from the start to ask questions, to be forceful, to be clear. And, at the end of the day, we're training people to begin their careers in the culinary profession as line cooks, but we've had apprentices who go on to become sous chefs and take on other roles way beyond that. And so we're really trying to train from the beginning to have that kind of like leadership and confidence in your skills and in your ability, so that from the start, from your apprenticeship program, from 1 or 2 weeks in, you're really beginning to own what you know and feeling confident and comfortable, really asserting yourself. So that's really key to what we're trying to do. We want to, change lives, not just through getting incredible jobs and union jobs with benefits, but also changing mindsets, changing the way people think about and really invest in themselves as folks with incredible skills and careers and visions that they want to pursue.
Wow, thank you so much for that. Super helpful. Jennifer, would you like to add anything on what you would advise to apprentices?
I think I'm the same. Communication is absolutely key. Don't be shy. Speak up. Lean on your managers. HR, organizational development areas are there is a resource, and lean into that. Take advantage of it. But also, we're learning as we go from them. We're taking information for them on how to develop the program, how to improve the program, whatever it might be. So no, it's kind of a two-way street. As much as they're learning, we're also learning on this end.
Thank you. As you're incorporating these feedbacks and developing your programs, how do you ensure or demonstrate your commitment to inclusivity and able to cater to the diverse needs of your apprentices? Aaron, would you like to start off with that one?
Yeah, I mean, we work with dozens and dozens of CBOs all over Southern California and Arizona to get referrals and to recruit and find students or participants. We really are not seeking out the sort of low-hanging fruit, like people who are people who could get one of these jobs if they just applied on their own. We want to help the folks who have a lot of barriers. Those might be language barriers, cultural barriers, barriers involving and Rogelio can speak to this in his own experience as an instructor, but barriers around folks who are justice involved. And so we are committed to really making sure that equity and inclusion are core in what we're doing. And we're committed to that in a bunch of ways. We have ELL instructors who are working with students who are Spanish speaking, but also who might speak Farsi or speak Arabic or speak French, who are, new Americans recently arrived, who are dealing with many barriers to employment in their own lives. And we are through our case management, through our instructors, through the way that we're supporting them with supportive services, making sure everyone who wants to, who really has the drive to complete the program and get a great union job at the end of the day, is able to do that. So, there's many examples we can talk about particular students who I think in other programs, may have really struggled, but we have found a way to, again, meet them where they're at, identify those barriers, help them to navigate around them, and have been really successful in getting folks into jobs that have totally changed their lives.
That's great. Rogelio, would you like to add on to Aaron and kind of your story from your point of view?
Yeah, and as in the instructor side teaching, usually like the kitchen is so diverse already. Like even with food, I try to tell everybody, so many cultures are just colliding in the kitchen, and it's so different, but it's also, I try to tell everybody, like, it's a free, there's no judgment here. I tell them from the beginning, everybody must respect each other. Everybody must listen to each other, know how to work together as a team. That is very important. It doesn't matter, how this person works too slow, this and that. We're going to work our way around to help each other out. In the end, like how Aaron said, we had some reentry folks that had very difficult times. There's this one student that comes to my mind where pretty much all the odds were against him. He got out of, he was fresh out of prison, and he was trying to get a second shot to working into a restaurant, and he was a math whiz. The moment he came out of he just told me all he did, and when he was in prison, was math, and he had his mental math on point, and he worked very hard. He proved it to us that he really wanted to change his life, and he wanted to get a good job, and we were able to place him in two hotels actually that were amazing hotels out here in Los Angeles, and his story just will always, I'll always cherish that story for myself, and I will always remember that. And he comes and still visits till this day.
Wow, that's great to hear. You're able to help different communities and better themselves. Jennifer, would you like to add how you're working towards diversity and inclusion within your programming model as you're working through your apprenticeship program?
Yeah, absolutely. We are also located in a very diverse community, which is nice. We do pull from the local community. I think for us, it is also about flexible work arrangements, right? So we really will dive in with those candidates or interns and ask them, how we can support what they need. A lot of folks have other jobs, or they're maybe going to school or have childcare needs. So we really work around a flexible work arrangement for them where they can have some core time, right, with their managers in office, whether they're working remotely, as well as time that they can do maybe some self-guided work on their own. So I think that flexible work arrangement is something we really lean into. And then as far as candidates, really sourcing from our local community is important to us.
So going back to what you were mentioning earlier, Aaron, do you have any advice you would want to give to other organizations that are interested in expanding and diversifying their programming models? Just any models, any initiatives that work for you all, or any success stories that really show that you can really work towards diversity and inclusion in registered apprenticeship?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a few pieces. One is, making sure that you are leveraging all the existing relationships that community-based organizations have with the communities that they serve, so that when you're recruiting students, you're meeting them where they already are, with faith-based organizations, service organizations, public agencies that we work with very closely, with the workforce boards and the whole workforce development system. So that's a really important way to find, not just job seekers, people who are looking to make a change, looking to engage with the workforce system. And in a place like Southern California and Los Angeles, that those kinds of partners can really capture the diversity of the whole region. I think the second thing is that, folks who are looking to make a change in their lives, looking to do an apprenticeship program to make that sort of take that leap of faith, they are savvy customers. They're looking out for something that is going to be real. Unlike what Rogelio was saying, the fact that we offer a totally free, no-cost program for all participants. In fact, we have funding for there to be small daily stipends as well to support folks during the 8 weeks. And that at the end of the day, we have 100% of our graduates being placed at life-changing jobs at participating employers. That's the difference that people see. Like when we're going to job fairs, when we're going to some of our community partners, that's something that other workforce programs just can't offer. And that has to do with who we are as a partnership between, again, some of the biggest hospitality employers in Southern California and in the world, and then the biggest hospitality workers union in the region, and one of the biggest in the country, that has been able to, through collective bargaining agreements, negotiate the existence of the HTA and negotiate real commitments to hire folks who are trained and who are excellent. So I think it's really a combination of going out into the community in effective and targeted ways, of having a program that really speaks to the needs of the employers and the needs of people who are looking to make a change in their lives. And then in the program itself, having the kind of comprehensive case management and support. We run courses that are monolingual Spanish, that are English, that are bilingual with ELL instructors, just really meeting the needs of students in the course too. But at the end of the day, it is that special relationship that we have with the employers that are going to employ the students who we graduate that makes the biggest difference for anyone who's going to be looking to join the program.
Those are some great initiatives and programming models that you have shared with us, and I know people in the audience appreciate knowing how they can improve their own programming models. Rogelio, would you like to kind of add your perspective from almost like the instructor mentorship side of it?
Yeah, of course. To be patient and to understand that the students' feedback is very important, and it's just as important to, for the program too, because if the students thrive, the program will thrive. So in the end, that's pretty much advice I would give to other programs, is just as an instructor side, be patient and sometimes it can be tough. There's some challenges for certain students, but there's ways around to teaching them, and that's one thing I've learned.
That's good to hear. Jennifer, would you like to give any advice?
That's tough to follow. I would say just jump in and do it, right? It is so rewarding. Any potential risk far outweighs, the reward far outweighs any potential risk. It is so beneficial for not only the individual, but your business as well. And just to make that investment, make the commitment. It may seem like a lot, maybe in the beginning, but really the impact on your business and the lives you're changing, that's amazing. And I would tell everyone, just jump in and do it. It's well worth it.
And kind of to follow up with you, Jennifer, we would love to hear what made ProSearch kind of think moving from the internship model into the registered apprenticeship model.
I think the success in our interns and our partnership with you guys at Intelligent Partnerships, really, we saw the benefits, we saw the personal stories, and really truly those successful individuals here at ProSearch kind of had guided their way through a lot of our different departments and moved their way up. And those are some of our really successful employees. And why not make that investment, make a change in someone else's life, but also it's an impact on your business, and a positive one. So I think, any hesitation we might have had prior went out the window in working with our interns and just seeing the benefits, as well as your influence at Intelligent Partnerships, for sure.
Thank you so much for that. Is there any last advice you would offer organizations seeking to start or enhance their apprenticeship programming overall? Aaron, would you like to speak on that?
Yeah, I would just reiterate that what makes I think our apprenticeship program so successful and is unique. I don't want to pretend like any apprenticeship program can look like this, but having that relationship with the employers, and just so folks know, we are jointly governed by the union and by the employers. So by, sort of by our incorporation, half of our board representatives of Unite Here Local 11, half from employer partners. And that really runs through our whole program. We're not the union, we're not the employers, we're something in between. And that special relationship that we have does allow us to be able to build our program based on what the employers need, and also to really guarantee that we are going to be able to place people into employment after the apprenticeship program and into full-time, life-changing employment with union wages and benefits, which are really transformative. Folks may have been following, there's been a serious ongoing labor dispute between Unite Here Local 11 and many employers that's being resolved. And as a result of that resolution, some of the starting wages are going, way, way, way above median for the industry, $30 an hour plus as starting wages in some of the culinary positions. And so we can really confidently say that we can get our graduates who are extraordinarily well trained into jobs that will change their lives and their families' lives. And that is because of that relationship that we have with the employers who help design the curriculum, but also who know from years and years of us working together the difference that it makes to have graduates of the HTA in the kitchen of, the Beverly Hilton or the Westin Bonaventure or the Four Seasons or Dodger Stadium or any of the other major employers that we work with all across Southern California.
Wow, that's impressive and amazing, the work that you are doing and the way your programming has been structured. Helia, would you like to give any last advice to organizations or even other instructors similar to your position?
Well, more for the students, is to trust the process. For me, it just took a lot of trust for me to, in HTA, I wouldn't be where I'm at even now if it wasn't for HTA, for these programs. They gave me an awesome opportunity to go out there, work at these beautiful restaurants, and I've learned so much from how to set up a banquet party, how to work the line, it's simple stuff like how to deal with pressure in the kitchen. That was because of HTA, and them asking me to come in and help tutor the students. Meanwhile, I was working another job and making sure that, their students were on top and learning as much as I was. Then till now, just giving me an opportunity to come teach was awesome. So the best advice I could give is just to trust the process, and these programs are amazing, and go for it.
Thank you for that. And last but certainly not least, Jennifer, would you like to offer any last advice?
Again, I think just make sure you're leaning on your resources. Don't be shy. Communicate. And for us, we're still building. It's still a process. I think it will always forever be changing, right? Skills change. So the feedback is so valuable. It's needed in order to continue the program and to continue that process and develop it. So, it, again, like I said before, it's a two-way street. It's a, relationship that you're building upon. So lean on those resources both ways. And make sure you take advantage of them, because there's plenty of folks wanting to offer their help, assistance, mentorship, whatever that might be. So yeah.
Thank you so much for that. And thank you everybody for joining our session today. Today we definitely learned, one, empowering apprentice voices, how we can incorporate these apprentice feedback and how it's crucial for the development and success of registered apprenticeship programming overall. And then also kind of the strength of that mentorship and communication roles are important. So we show that there are those effective models that are vital for amplifying apprentice voices and providing the necessary support for these apprentices and able to thrive in the programming and in post-programming lives. And then third, the commitment to inclusivity is also extremely important, as we see that successful apprenticeship programming should prioritize inclusivity by both balancing in structure and flexibility to accommodate these diverse needs for the success of programming and for students. So thank you again for joining us today.
As we conclude the second day of our Building Inclusive Pathways through Registered Apprenticeship Summit, we want to extend a heartfelt gratitude to each of you for your participation. We are appreciative of the insights shared by our esteemed speakers and panelists, and for their time and contributions during the summit. Your dedication to advancing inclusive apprenticeship programs is truly commendable. The discussions and ideas shared over these 2 days have been invaluable, and we are excited to see how they will shape future initiatives. Thank you for your commitment, and we look forward to collaborating with you again in the future to build a more inclusive workforce. And as a final reminder, links to apply for technical assistance will be shared in the chat, as well as in the session description. Thank you again for joining us.